5 ways to handle people who don't respect you. Have you ever felt someone's eyes fixed on you, yet they didn't truly see you? It's not that they were blind, not that they were distracted. It's that they had already decided you weren't worth noticing. That feeling, an invisible coldness, as if your presence was nothing more than background noise in the movie they were directing for themselves, slowly eats away at your self-respect. Maybe you felt it when your suggestion was ignored only to be rebranded by someone else and met with applause. Your story was cut off at the family table as if it didn't matter. Or with friends when they reached out only when they needed something, but vanished when you were in need. All of that has a name: disrespect. People often say, respect must be earned. But the truth, as the Stoics understood thousands of years ago, is this respect is not a gift you go begging for. It results from how you value yourself and make others recognize it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone holds you in contempt, ask yourself, does that make me lesser? If not, why should I care?" That is the spirit of an unshaken mind, one that refuses to let the gaze control its emotions, the words, or the attitude of others. But don't misunderstand. Living as a Stoic doesn't mean you ignore all disrespect and tell yourself, "I'm fine." There are times when silence is strength, but there are also times when silence only convinces others that you're weak. The question is not, should you react? It's how you react, in a way that protects your inner peace while making it clear you are not someone to be treated carelessly. You see, disrespect doesn't just wound the ego. It sends a dangerous message: I can treat you this way and nothing will happen. If left unchallenged, that message repeats, spreads, and becomes their habit, and you're trapped. That's why you can't simply hope people will change. You have to set the terms for how they can approach you, and that begins with 5 approaches we're about to discuss. 5 direct and subtle strategies so you can handle disrespect without losing your composure, dignity, or standards. I'm not talking about childish retaliation or petty revenge to satisfy your anger. We're here to talk about deliberate moves, like an inner warrior who knows when to strike, stand still, and walk away. As Epictetus taught, no one can harm you without your consent. But giving or withholding that consent is a choice that demands strength, discipline, and wisdom. Think of the following 5 sections as swords you will forge for yourself. Each has its purpose, and you won't need them all simultaneously. But when the moment comes, you will be ready. And we begin with the most dangerous weapon, not words, but purposeful silence. Method 1, the power of silence. Silence in the eyes of many is a sign of weakness. But for those who truly understand their worth, silence is a form of power. Picture this. You're conversing when someone throws a jab, a belittling remark, or simply a look of disregard. The instinctive reaction for most people is to fight back immediately, to defend, argue, or try to prove their value. But in that moment, you have already stepped into the most subtle trap, the reaction trap. Those who follow Stoic philosophy understand that the one who controls the reaction controls the entire game. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If what they say is true, there is no shame. If what they say is false, there is no reason for me to be angry." Silence doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you choose not to give energy to what isn't worth it. When you stay silent, you create a space the other person must fill with their own unease, doubt, and sometimes regret. 1. Silence as a mirror. Think of silence as a mirror. You don't add chaos, you reflect what is happening. The other person will see the emptiness in your response and begin to look back at themselves. In many situations, you don't need to shout, "I disagree." A calm gaze and sustained silence are enough to let them know they've crossed a line. 2. Silence to observe. When you choose silence, you're not giving up. You're watching, you're gathering information. Like a warrior who doesn't strike too soon but waits for the right moment. Silence gives you time to distinguish. Is this an intentional insult or a careless slip? Is this their problem or truly mine? Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." In intense moments, listening isn't only about words, it's also about observing body language, pauses, and the shift in someone's eyes. 3. Silence to stay in control. Most conflicts escalate because people react too quickly. One hasty word leads to another hasty word, and that spiral only deepens the damage. Silence breaks this spiral. It forces the situation to slow down, making everyone pause and think. When you are silent, you send a quiet message. Your emotions do not control me, and that makes you the one holding the wheel in the exchange. 4. But silence is not always the answer. Silence is a double-edged sword. Used wisely, it is a strength. Used poorly, it becomes a surrender. If you're silent out of fear and avoidance, it's no longer power, it's submission. The difference lies in intention. A Stoic remains silent with purpose. To protect energy, observe and choose the right moment to respond, not to hide. 5. How to practice the power of silence. Keep a calm gaze, don't look down or roll your eyes. Hold steady eye contact. And breathe deep and slow. This keeps your heart rate steady and prevents rash reactions. Count in your head. A pause of 3 to 5 seconds can make the other person feel the moment's weight. Avoid over-explaining. If you respond, keep your words short, clear, and close the point quickly. I remember once a colleague interrupted me during an important meeting while I was speaking. Each time he cut in, I stopped, looked him directly, and stayed silent. No reaction, no argument. After the 3rd time, the whole room began to notice, and he grew uneasy. By the end of the meeting, I didn't have to teach him respect. The silence in the air had already done it. Silence is a statement without words. I am steady enough not to be pulled into your game. And when you truly understand this, you'll realize silence is not just a way to handle disrespect. It is a life skill, a strategy to protect your inner peace while making it clear that you are not easily subdued. From here, we move to method 2, sharp boundaries. Because silence only has real power when clear boundaries guard it. Method 2, sharp boundaries. A dull knife cuts nothing, and a blurry boundary protects no one. We often consider boundaries a noble concept, protecting ourselves, keeping respect, and avoiding exploitation. But in reality, most people set boundaries to let others step over them without consequence. The Stoic understands that a boundary is not just something you say, it must be something others can feel. People must know that if they cross it, the consequences will be clear and immediate. 1. Why your boundaries fail. Boundaries don't fail because you never spoke them. They fail because you spoke to them as if asking for permission. I don't like this, but maybe you didn't mean it. Please don't do that again. Okay. These soft words may keep temporary peace but send a dangerous message. You can do it again. I'll still be here. Seneca once reminded us, everyone respects the person who knows how to say enough. But that enough is not an empty word. It's the act of ending the abuse the moment it appears. 2. Boundaries must have deterrent power. An effective boundary is like a fence lined with thorns. You don't need to shout to defend it. Anyone who touches it will feel it. This doesn't mean you must be hostile or violent. It means you must be clear. Don't reply to messages from someone who continually belittles you. Don't attend gatherings where you know you'll be treated with contempt. Don't allow anyone access to your private life if they can't respect it. People understand this is not a decorative boundary when your actions are consistent. This is an absolute limit. 3. Boundaries start with self-respect. Others will only respect your boundaries if you are the first to appreciate them. If you set rules but break them yourself, answering calls in the middle of the night, enduring sarcastic remarks because you're too polite to say anything, then that boundary is already dead from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You will not be treated with contempt by anyone if you do not treat yourself with contempt." Allowing others to cross your boundaries repeatedly is one way you do that. 4. How to create sharp boundaries without starting a war. Be clear from the beginning. Don't wait until they cross the line to speak. Let them know from the start of the relationship or situation. Speak briefly without lengthy explanations. I do not accept being spoken to that way. Stop there. Over-explaining makes you look like you're seeking approval. Act if a boundary is violated. Don't give 10 warnings. One is enough to prove you're serious. 5. The story of the wooden fence. I remember a childhood friend who had a small plot where he grew roses. At first, he built a low wooden fence to keep out stray dogs and cats, but neighbors would still casually step over to pick the flowers. He didn't get angry, he didn't argue. He replaced the wooden fence with a barbed wire fence twice as tall. No reminders, no warnings. From that day on, no one stepped over again. Boundaries in life are the same. Once people realize that crossing them will cost them something, even if it's just losing access to you, they stop. 6. You are not required to be pleasant. Boundaries get broken because we fear being called difficult or cold. But remember, your job is not to please everyone. You don't need to explain why you protect your time, energy, and peace. For the Stoic, this is a responsibility, not a privilege. 7. Practicing sharp boundaries. Write down 5 things you will never tolerate in relationships, work, or family. Decide in advance the specific action you'll take if each is violated. Practice saying no without adding a reason. A boundary is not a wall to lock yourself inside. It is a door. You decide who comes in and who stays out. And when that door is secure, you no longer feel exhausted from having to manage people who don't respect you. From here, we move to method 3, the disrespect detection list. A quiet but effective tool to help you spot who is unworthy of walking alongside you early. Method 3, the disrespect detection list. Not every cut bleeds immediately. Some wounds start as nothing more than a small scratch. But if you fail to notice and treat them, they become an infection. Disrespect works the same way. The Stoic understands that most relationship breakdowns, whether friendships, romance, or work, begin with minor signs that go ignored. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The most dangerous enemy is not the strong one, but the one you allow to move closer little by little. And if you don't pay attention, you will open the door for them." 1. Why do you need a list? The human mind forgets easily when emotion gets in the way. When someone treats you poorly, the initial anger may make you want to cut ties. But a few days later, they apologize, you soften, and things return to how they were. If this repeats, you get trapped in a toxic loop, where others learn that an apology is all it takes to continue. An observation list is not for holding grudges. It's for keeping your memory honest. It reminds you of what truly happened, without repainting or justifying it. 2. What goes on this list? Picture having a small notebook, or simply a note on your phone, where you record every sign of disrespect, no matter how small. For example, interrupting you while you're speaking, ignoring essential messages, making jokes about something you've said is sensitive, failing to acknowledge your efforts or achievements, making promises and breaking them without explanation. Each time it happens, write it down briefly. No emotion, no analysis, just record it. 3. The power of silent observation. When you do this, you will notice something interesting. The truth reveals itself. Someone may violate your boundary once by accident, but the illusion disappears when you see a long list of repeated behaviors. Epictetus taught, "Do not let your emotions blind you to the evidence," and this list is the evidence. 4. You don't have to confront right away. A common mistake is reacting too quickly to every minor offense. That can make you seem defensive or paranoid. The Stoic chooses differently. Observe record, let the evidence stack up. When the right time comes, or when you have enough data to decide, you act decisively. Leave change how you interact or cut contact altogether. 5. The story of the clay pot. I once saw a famous potter in my hometown when I was young. He had a beautiful vase but noticed a small crack at the base. He didn't rush to throw it away. He set it aside, observing it each day. A few weeks later, the crack spread and the vase began to leak water. Only then did he say, "Now I'm certain this vase can't be used anymore." And he broke it without regret. We should observe people the same way. A crack might be accidental, but if it spreads, it's character. 6. The double benefit of a list. Keeps you alert. You won't be swayed by promises, apologies, or charm. Protects your time. You'll quickly see who is worthy and who is not, avoiding years wasted on people who don't respect you. 7. How to practice. And create a note titled Instances of Disrespect. Write the date, the situation, and their action. At the end of each month, read it all over. Decide based on evidence, not on passing emotion. When you have this list, you'll stop being caught off guard. You won't need to argue to prove anything. And when you walk away, you'll do it lightly because you'll know you've given them more than enough chances. From here, we move to method 4, the reflection strategy, a way to turn the very energy of someone's disrespect into a mirror that forces them to face themselves. Method 4, the reflection strategy. Here's a hard truth: you cannot teach an adult how to respect others. If they are disrespectful, it's not because they don't know better. They've chosen to be that way. The Stoic understands that trying to change another person's nature is pointless. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be like the rock against which the waves break. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it." But standing firm does not mean remaining silent forever. Sometimes the strongest way to respond to disrespect is to reflect it so they can see themselves. 1. What is reflection? Reflection is not revenge. It is returning to someone exactly what they've given you, but within a calm frame without adding your poison. If they speak to you coldly, you respond in the same tone. If they create distance, you step back as well. If they offer indifference, you respond with indifference. You don't do this to win over them, but to avoid making yourself a victim by giving more than you receive. 2. Why reflection has power. When you reflect, you hold a mirror up to the other person, and human beings are uncomfortable when they see themselves through another's eyes. Seneca once said, no one admits they are unpleasant, yet everyone resents seeing a copy of themselves. The disrespectful are often used to make you tolerate or try to make peace. When you reflect their attitude at them, you disrupt the pattern they're comfortable with. This forces them either to adjust their behavior or to remove themselves. 3. The line between reflection and retaliation. The most significant difference is that you do not add bitterness to the action. Retaliation is about making them hurt as much as you hurt. Reflection is about letting them witness their behavior. The Stoic does not live to bring others down, but to protect their peace and dignity. 4. A story from a meeting. I once worked with a colleague who was highly skilled in his field but poor at respecting others. He often interrupted and dismissed my ideas in meetings. Instead of arguing or trying to talk louder, I chose to reflect. The next time he spoke, I lightly interrupted and continued my conversation with someone else. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. The result, after just 2 instances, he realized how unpleasant it felt to be ignored and began adjusting his behavior. 5. When to use the reflection strategy, and when you have noticed the same disrespectful behavior repeating. When you want to send a message without confrontation. When you want to preserve your energy and avoid being pulled into negativity. 6. How to practice. Observe and identify the disrespectful behavior. Match the frequency. Mirror their tone, body language, and attitude. Remove personal emotion. The goal is reflection, not combat. Stop once the message is clear. Don't let reflection become a stubborn habit. 7. Benefits of reflection. Keeps you on equal footing. Forces the other person to self-reflect. Saves energy by avoiding unnecessary arguments. 8. A reminder from Epictetus. Epictetus once said, "If someone insults you, remember it says more about them than you. And if you return the same insult, you become them." Reflection is a subtle art. You give back exactly what they gave, but without carrying resentment. You remain like a clear mirror showing everything, keeping nothing. When you know how to reflect, you'll notice something reasonable. People will recognize the message and adjust. Stubborn ones will remove themselves. Either way, you preserve yourself. From here, we move to method 5, the powerful walkaway, where you don't need a goodbye, but leave a silence they will never forget. Method 5, the powerful walkaway. There is a strength that few dare to use, the strength to walk away. No noise, no warning, leaving nothing behind but space. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us, if something does not suit you, let it drift away. Do not cling to what robs your mind of freedom. People often believe strength is enduring, fixing, or persuading someone to change. But sometimes true strength lies in knowing when to let go and walk away. Walking away is not defeat. Society teaches us that quitting means failure. Walking away can be the only way to preserve your self-worth. When you leave a relationship, an environment, or a situation filled with disrespect, you are telling the world, I will not trade my dignity just to stay. Walking away is not running. It is choosing to stand with yourself. Silence becomes the final strike. When someone is used to belittling you, they expect a reaction. anger, arguments, explanations. They want to drag you into the whirlpool of their negative energy. But when you leave without explanation, you remove the one thing they never expected: control over the narrative. Seneca once said the wise need not speak much to be understood, nor remain to prove a point. I remember an old friend from my youth. We shared everything from meals to dreams. But over time, the respect faded. His jokes turned into mockery, and his feedback became public criticism. I tried to talk to repair, but one day I realized if someone constantly makes you feel small, they are no longer your friend. I deleted his number, left every group we had in common, and went silent. Months later, he reached out asking why I had disappeared. I said I choose peace over punchlines. When should you walk away? When your boundaries have been broken repeatedly, when their words and actions continually erode your confidence, you must change your very nature to survive in that relationship. How to walk away with strength. Decide firmly. Do not let emotions pull you back. Leave quietly. Keep your energy for yourself. Do not seek approval. You don't need anyone to agree with your choice. Focus on your new life. Invest in relationships, projects, and habits that help you grow. The benefits of walking away are clear. You reclaim your mental freedom. You send a strong message about your worth. You create space for better relationships to appear. Epictetus once taught, if you wish to be free, cut the cord. Do not ask whether they agree, for they are the ones who tied it to you. Walking away is not a period at the end of the story. It is a comma, allowing your life to continue in a better direction. When you walk away, remember you do not need to prove your worth to anyone. Your presence is already proof enough. And in your absence, those who once disrespected you will feel that emptiness far more deeply than any words could express. From here, we move to part 7, conclusion and key lessons, where every method will be woven into a complete life philosophy, practical yet steeped in the spirit of Stoicism. After going through the 5 ways to handle disrespect, you've probably realized that real strength doesn't come from changing others, but from steadfastly preserving your dignity. Intentional silence, clear boundaries. A mental checklist mirroring energy, and the powerful walkaway are not just tactics. They form a life philosophy. A philosophy that teaches you respect is not something to beg for, but something you create and protect daily. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." When you choose silence, you decide to keep control. When you set boundaries, you define your worth. When you walk away, you prove that peace is worth more than any relationship. None of this is about becoming cold. It's about becoming unshakable in the face of contempt. And when you live this way, the world will have no choice but to adjust how it treats you. Because you've set the standard, you won't lower it for anyone. And from here, we move to your most essential part right now. If what you've just heard has awakened something in you, don't let it fade after a few minutes. Start today. Write down one thing you will do to protect your self-respect. Send this video to someone you know who is being disrespected or has forgotten their worth. And let Sovereign Stoic be the place you return to whenever you need a deep reminder, a quiet perspective, and the inner strength to rise above every act of disdain. Subscribe to Sovereign Stoic, not because this is a place for nice words, but because you need a space to cultivate your dignity and peace. And if you are ready to live with intention, leave one simple sentence in the comments: I choose respect, starting with myself first.